Okay, so this has to be one of the most audacious, just bizarre, and ultimately heartbreaking true crime stories you will ever hear. It's a tale of debt, deception, and a lie so monumental it completely tore a family apart. Let's dive right in.
You know, it's a question we all kind of joke about, right? After a really tough week at work, oh, I just want to disappear. But what if you were truly desperate? I mean, what if the walls were actually closing in and you saw absolutely no way out?
Well, for this one, man, John Darwin, the answer was death. Or, well, let's be specific, the appearance of it. See, he wasn't actually planning on dying. Nope, he was planning on disappearing.
So here's the thing. We're not going to start this story at the beginning. No, we're going to jump right into the middle of the chaos, right at the moment the whole lie started to fall apart. Picture this. It's December 1st, 2007. A man walks into a London police station. He looks completely confused, totally lost.
He walks up to the desk and claims he has total amnesia. The very last thing he can remember? A trip to Norway. And then he tells these stunned police officers that he thinks the year is 2000. You can imagine their faces when they had to tell him, no sir, it's 2007. 7 years have passed.
I mean, you just can't make this stuff up, right? The police are completely baffled. So they run his name through the system. And what pops up? He's flagged as a missing person. But not just missing, he was presumed drowned at sea 5 years earlier. This guy wasn't just missing, he was legally dead. They had a death certificate and everything.
So, the police have to make probably the strangest phone call of their careers. They call his sons, Mark and Anthony. Can you even imagine getting that call? The shock. They race down to the station, and when they see him, their father, alive, it's just this moment of pure, unbelievable joy. The dad they had mourned for 5 long years is standing right there. But of course, this miracle was hiding a truly devastating secret.
All right, to really get how we got to this point, we need to rewind. Let's go all the way back to 2002. We've got John Darwin, he's a former prison guard, and his wife Anne, a doctor's receptionist. They're living in this little seaside town, and on the surface, everything seems totally normal. But underneath it all, oh, they were drowning.
See, John had this big idea to buy up a bunch of properties. We're talking 12 different houses, all on mortgages, planning to be a big-time landlord. But things went south, fast. Mismanagement, crazy expensive repairs, and honestly, a taste for the high life, like buying a brand new Range Rover on credit cards he couldn't afford, it all just plunged them into this mountain of debt. The banks were calling nonstop. They were on the verge of losing everything.
Now, Anne, she could see the writing on the wall. She suggested the logical thing to do, even though it would have been painful, declare bankruptcy. But John had this massive ego. He really thought he was smarter than everyone else, and there was no way he was going to do that. He had a different idea, a much, much crazier idea. He actually turns to Anne and says, "I'm going to fake my own death."
Anne, as you can imagine, was absolutely horrified. She's like, "Are you insane? Think about our sons, our parents." She pointed out how unbelievably cruel it would be. But John, he was a master manipulator. He laid on the emotional blackmail, even threatened suicide, and just wore her down until she somehow reluctantly agreed. And just like that, it wasn't just John's crazy plan anymore. It became their shared terrible secret.
So, March 21st, 2002. Showtime. The plan kicks into gear. John grabs his bright red canoe, makes a bit of a show of it so the neighbors see him heading out to sea, and then, poof, he's gone. Vanished. That night, Anne plays her part perfectly. She picks up the phone, full of panic, and calls the police to report her husband missing.
And the response was huge. I mean, a full-scale search and rescue operation kicks off. Helicopters, Coast Guard boats, the works. The national media picks up the story of the missing canoeist. His poor sons, they rush to be with their mom, comforting her, while they all just stare out at the sea, hoping, praying for a miracle. And then, a few days later, the wreckage of his canoe washes up on the shore. And just like that, all hope was gone.
And this is where the story gets really, truly sickening. Because while his family was going through this unimaginable grief, John wasn't at the bottom of the ocean. After a little camping trip to lay low, he secretly moved into an empty property they owned, which was literally right next door to their family home.
For months, he just lived there like a shadow, grew a big beard to change how he looked. And get this, there was a connecting door between the two houses. He could actually hear his sons on the other side of the wall mourning him. He listened as Anne lied to their faces, to the police, to absolutely everyone. He was a ghost in his own life, haunting the people who loved him more than anything.
So after a full year of these elaborate lies to the police and the insurance companies, Anne finally manages to get John declared legally dead. Cha-ching! She claims the life insurance, the pension payouts, the whole lot. Suddenly their debts are cleared and they're sitting on nearly $500,000. So they start planning their new life, jet-setting around the world looking for the perfect place to start over. They finally land on Panama. It's perfect, cheap, beautiful, and a place where nobody knows their names. Anne tells her sons she's moving there to start fresh, to escape the painful memories. And they, being good sons, completely supported her. They had no idea she was really leaving to go live with their supposedly dead father. The plan was working. It was flawless. Well, almost.
Okay, so while they're out looking for property in Panama, they do something so simple, so normal. They pose for a photo with a real estate agent. Just a happy, smiling picture of a couple excited for their future. But look at that date, July 14th, 2006. That is 4 years after John Darwin supposedly drowned at sea. That little photo, once it was uploaded to the internet, became a ticking time bomb.
So why did John even come back in the first place? The reason is surprisingly boring. A new visa law popped up in Panama that said you needed a letter of good conduct from the police back in your home country. Well, for John, who was using a forged passport under the name of a dead child, yeah, that was impossible. His dream life was over before it really began. So he had to go to his last, most desperate plan, the amnesia story.
And of course, the story of the amnesia canoeist was massive news. Everyone was talking about it. But then, a journalist does something incredibly simple. A quick Google search, John and Darwin, Panama. And bam, there's the photo. In just over a single week, a lie that they had kept going for 5 years completely, utterly fell apart. His sons saw that picture online, the whole world saw it, the game was up. So when Anne, who's still back in Panama, gets confronted, she tries to fall back on this backup lie they had cooked up. She claimed, oh, John just showed up 18 months ago with amnesia. We were just keeping it a secret until we could pay back the insurance money. But the story was it was full of holes. Nobody was buying it for a second. So yeah, John and Anne had solved their money problems. The financial debt was gone. But in its place, they had created a whole new kind of debt, an emotional one, a moral one, a debt that could never, ever be repaid. They were both charged with fraud, obviously. John pleaded guilty right away. But Anne, she pleaded not guilty, trying to claim that John had forced her into the whole thing. The jury did not buy it, and in a final little twist of irony, she actually got a slightly longer sentence than he did, all because she didn't admit her guilt from the start.
But you know what? The prison time, that was nothing, not compared to the real punishment. Their sons, Mark and Anthony, they publicly disowned them. The pain on their faces in the interviews, it was just immeasurable. They realized they hadn't just lost their father to the sea 5 years ago. Now they had lost both of their parents to a betrayal that is just unimaginable.
You see, in the end, John Darwin wasn't just trying to escape his debts. He was trying to escape his entire life. But what he really, truly lost in all this was the love and the trust of his own children. And that kind of leaves us with one final thought, doesn't it? Some debts, they can never really be repaid, and some betrayals can never, ever be undone.